ice and snow, where waddling feet go. Penguins in their tuxedos come to show their joy. From the pools to the skies, they play and frolic true. Welcome to Penguin Paradise, where every day's a new adventure too.
Hello and welcome to All About Penguins podcast, where we dive deep into their icy world, conservation, and the passionate people making a difference for our planet. I'm your host Mary, and today our guest is Carolina, a penguin biologist currently based in France. She holds a master's degree in environmental management and coastal ecology. And she also completed a hands-on internship at SANCCOB in South Africa, a leading seabird rehabilitation center where she worked directly with injured and orphaned African penguins. Through her work, Carolina is on a mission to make the world more penguin-friendly. Now she's pursuing a PhD to study the interactions between penguins and fisheries, one of the major challenges facing seabird populations today. In this episode, we will talk about her experiences at SANCCOB, about her amazing social media platform, and how we can all play a part in protecting penguins. As I said before we hit record, I am so excited to have her here. Carolina, welcome to the podcast. And can you tell us a little bit about your journey and what sparked your passion about penguins?
Sure. So first, just thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here with you talking about my favorite birds ever, penguins. To tell you a bit more about my journey, I actually didn't come from an ecology background at all. I originally studied biology and biochemistry because I thought at first I'd go into medical science, but then the pandemic happened, and one day one of my best friends just sent me a random penguin post on Instagram. Yeah, we were all stuck at home, and I clicked. That was it. I started to read, and I needed to learn everything I could about penguins. After that, I just, remember thinking it was kind of out of nowhere. Like, what if I just became a penguin biologist? That would be so cool. Now I made a decision. I gave myself a year to learn everything I could about ecology.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to give myself a real shot at it. I wanted to apply for a master's in environmental science. So yeah, that's it.
One post and such a huge impact. Now I'm curious, what was it about?
To be honest, it was like the most basic post of penguins. I think it was an emperor, chick just laying on the snow eating ice or something like that. It was just a cute, After that, my life literally changed. So I'm so glad it happened.
No surprise it was an emperor penguin. It's the penguin that is used almost in every post I see.
Yeah, they're amazing.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the studies? How can we imagine it? For example, for me, I also somewhere in my past wanted to probably study penguins, but how does it look like? Is it hard to study?
I mean, I think for me, the most difficult part was just to enter that master's degree because, like I said before, my background wasn't about ecology at all. But then when I was in, it went just so smoothly. I was scared because I felt like I didn't know a lot compared to like the other student that, had that background in ecology. But it was so smooth. I think it was just because I was so passionate about it. Everything I was learning was just so interesting. And yeah, it wasn't that difficult, to be honest.
Yeah, if usually there is passion behind something, it's much easier.
Yes, and of course, you have always some, course that you like more than others, but in everything, I guess.
Is there a specific subject just about penguins?
No, there is not. I was sad about it, but that's fine because, I'm very curious. And I was also thinking that even if I knew that I wanted to work and to study penguins, it was also very interesting to see something else, It's so important to stay curious and to know things about everything. So I learned about like corals, turtle, fisheries, of course. So yeah, it was still very interesting.
Now that you mentioned fisheries, I know that you are studying the interactions between penguins and fisheries. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Why is it important? Like, what's the interconnection?
The interaction between fisheries and penguins, it's so important because it really highlights, their direct competition for resources. For example, you have some kind of penguin species. I'm thinking about the Humboldt penguin, the Magellanic penguin, also the African penguin. They are all belonging to the Spheniscus gender. So all those penguins, they are heavily relying on fish like sardines and anchovies. And those kinds of fish are also targeted by the commercial fishing industry. When fisheries overexploit these stocks, Penguin can struggle to find enough food to survive and to raise their chick. And unfortunately, this can lead to the decline of their population.
And I already know it's not a new topic and it's happening around the penguin world.
Exactly, especially in Peru, in Chile with the Humboldt penguins, and in South Africa also, and Argentina, of course, with the Magellanic penguins.
It's really a phenomenon happening all around the world, not just for one specific penguin species.
For example, in Argentina, I was talking to a man. He's living in Uruguay, and he have a center like SANCCOB, but in Uruguay. And each year, he's seeing a lot of juveniles arriving in the coast of Uruguay, and they are all dead because they just starved to death because they didn't have enough food to survive during like their long migration.
It's very sad to hear. And I believe not many people around the world are actually aware or connect the dots that actual commercial fishing can harm penguins.
Because it's something you don't really see, because everything is happening at sea, so you don't see.
And you also mentioned the African penguins, and one thing I was very curious about was especially your SANCCOB internship. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, of course. Well, to tell you a bit like how like the mood I was in before arriving at SANCCOB. At this time, I was in Peru. I was working with monkeys, so nothing to see with penguins. And then when I came back in France, I felt like I really needed, to come back to birds and penguins and what I was meant for, I think. And when I arrived in France, I just saw that post about SANCCOB. They were looking for volunteers and interns. And I was like, okay, that must be destiny. I need to apply. I need to ask. I immediately asked for that internship, and they said yes. So yeah, 3 months later, I arrived in South Africa, Cape Town, and that experience I think was the best one I've had. It was so cool. It was actually the first time I saw a penguin that close, because before I was studying penguins, but it was just all about statistics, percentage, and now they were in front of me, so it felt very different.
Going still back, because I'm also interested in how does the application process work? Do I just fill out the form online? Do I have to have an official interview? Do they offer internships? Because I also saw they are offering volunteering positions only.
They asked for both, but I just saw their Instagram post. So there is a mail, so you have to contact them. And on their website, you can find a form that you have to fill, depending if you want to be a volunteer or an intern, because there is a difference.
Ah, so there is a difference.
When you are a volunteer, from what I've understood, you don't really have a schedule. It's very light. You will just go there, and of course you will work as everyone. So you will work with the birds, work in the husbandry area, but it's very, let's say, light. When you are an intern, you are like kind of part of the team. Your job is to supervise the volunteers. You have a bit more of responsibilities. If you want to go to SANCCOB, I think first good thing to know is if you want to be like a volunteer or have a bit more responsibilities and work as an intern. Just fill the form, send it to SANCCOB, and wait for the answer.
Sounds easy. Fill the form, send it, and wait. But I'm also interested. Do I have to have any special background to apply?
You don't really need to have a strong background with seabirds, penguins, or any animals. I've met a lot of people that they were working, I don't know, in banks. Some of them, they weren't studying yet. They just came and they just asked to be there because they wanted a first experience with animals. You don't really need to have a strong background like me if you just want to go there as a volunteer. Like, it's very accessible. Just be passionate. Very important.
Yeah. I think I also, because I follow them as well on social media, and I see a few times that they post volunteers needed, and they post several times a year.
They really need people. The good thing is that there is also several kind of internship or volunteer. For example, I was doing a seabird rehabilitation internship, but you also have the nursery. So you're working just with the little kid babies, and you have you're so cute, really, and you also have the CRU, which is the chick rearing unit. You are basically working with the eggs and the very, very small chick when they just hatched. So you really have, different possibilities at SANCCOB, and that's amazing.
It's nice. That's very nice. I actually adopted a few penguins through them because I know you can name them.
Yes.
So I have a whole
What was the
collection.
name?
Honestly, I don't remember because I already adopted several ones. I even had a year where I adopted each month one penguin. It's hard to remember all the names, but I still have the certification, so I can check.
Oh, that's so cute. I also
Okay.
named one.
Oh, what was the name?
It was Piplup because I like Pokemon.
Of course, that's the best Pokemon there is
That's the
outside there.
best one, of course.
Talking still about your SANCCOB adventure, once you knew your application was approved and you knew you are off to see the penguins, is there any special gear you have to pack, like Indiana Jones style?
Not really from what I remember. They just asked because the climate in South Africa is a bit bipolar, as they say themselves. Because I arrived in June, there it was like beginning of the winter. I just had to have some rainy coats, some, how you call that, a cap for winter, and also Crocs. Yeah, they ask you that if you have Crocs, that's better because you are working wearing Crocs, and I think that's just amazing because they are like comfiest shoes ever.
Not the most fashionable, but practical, I guess. Must be like a lot of water also on the ground while you work.
Yeah. You don't have to be scared to be wet at the center because you will be literally cleaning bowls and everything, and sometimes it's raining.
Thinking back on your time there, what was the most memorable moment for you?
I actually have a lot of good memories at the center, but I think my favorite one when I helped release African penguins back into the wild. That was very emotional for me because that's where I really felt the weight of everything we were doing. I felt like it led to something. All the early morning, the feeding, the cleaning, because there is a lot of cleaning at the center. So everything led to that moment, and that was so emotional. I almost cried. Okay, I'm sensitive, so I almost cried. But it's even harder when you know that the African penguin is critically endangered and that this species could actually go extinct by 2035. So it have also like another dimension.
Oh, I feel you. I would probably have cried as well. I'm also very sentimental, especially when it comes to penguin. And seeing them released, I just saw them only on the social media pages when SANCCOB posts, and I almost cried. So, real life, I would cry for sure.
And I think that's the favorite memory of many person at the center. It's something I can't even describe. It's very specific because you just see them waddling to the colony and you're just like, wow, it's been like, I don't know, 3 months that penguin was here and now he's back to the wild. So that's beautiful.
And was there something that surprised you about the hands on rehabilitation
About
process?
the work, yes, I knew it will be intense work. I've been warned that, physically it's going to be strong, but something I wasn't expecting was how demanding it will be mentally, at least for me. For example, when you are working with sick birds or injured birds, some of them sometimes are recovering from surgeries. You have to be focused all the time. You have to pay attention and you can't just zone out, even for a second because you have to take care of the birds. By the end of the day, it was a bit exhausting. But I think that's also, what makes beautiful that work because it's all about care, attention, about love. You want them to be good. You want them to recover as quick as possible and to go back to the colony.
Has a penguin ever done anything unexpected or funny?
Yeah, they are very unexpected. Sometimes you will just enter the pen, and you will see them and you're like, why are you doing that? Like what's happening? But I remember the first time I went into the home pen. So at SANCCOB, we have what we call home pen. It's an enclosure, but for permanent residents. There are birds that can't go back into the wild because they will not survive because they have, I don't know, genetic diseases or injury. They wouldn't just make it. They wouldn't survive. And I remember, so I was working at home pen and it was nesting season. So we had to put nesting material inside the pen so the penguins can build their own nest. And I remember seeing that penguin, he sneaked out of his nest. He looked left, he looked right, and he went straight into his neighbor's nest to steal all the branches and everything to make his nest comfier. And I was like, how is that possible? Like penguins, they are thieves. And it was so funny because it felt really I was watching some dramatic movie, like haste movie, but a penguin version. And yeah, it was so funny. I love that moment. I think I also have a video of that.
Yep, penguins are thieves. I bet this is another fact many people don't know about penguins. I saw it in many documentaries. There is at least one penguin who steals from another penguin.
But it's better, if the neighbor don't see him, because if he sees him, he's gonna have huge problems, I think.
Have you
Fights.
witnessed a fight? Have you witnessed some
Yeah,
intense penguin
of
fight?
course. African penguins, they are so territorial. They will defend their nest. It's their property. It's where they raise their chicks. So they really defend their nest like crazy. And you can't really like imagine that an African penguin can be a huge fighter, but they are actually great fighters. And I can tell you, when we had some from the wild and we needed to feed it them and everything, when we have to catch them, you have to be careful because their big first is so strong. If they pinch, it's gonna hurt, and they slap also very hard. I mean, I wouldn't like to be that penguin, noticed in another one's nest. Definitely not.
I knew about the beaks, that they are strong, but I didn't know about the slapping.
Yes, I have videos of my arms during my first week with all bruises everywhere. I was walking in the street, or I was going in the grocery stores, and people were looking at me, and I was like, it's penguin, please don't worry, it's a penguin, okay? Nothing bad happened there. Like, that's just a penguin.
Well, I can only imagine the looks the people gave you. Now that you're mentioning the town, how can I imagine the penguins living there in the wild? I mean, I saw some pictures where I saw penguins running around on the beach, waddling in the streets. Is this the penguin paradise that I can imagine there?
I was a bit disappointed of that because I mean I've seen, I don't know if you know that show on Netflix, but it's called Penguin Sound,
Yes.
and it's amazing. You see them walking and everything. And I thought it will be like that near SANCCOB. But the thing is, the colony is very far from SANCCOB. The colony is in Simonstown, and SANCCOB is at the other side of Cape Town. But if you go to Simonstown, which I did like several times, you can actually see penguins walking everywhere. I don't know, it's like they own, the place. And I remember like some nights, you just see a cute couple and they're just running behind each other. And I was, what's happening here? Like they're just following each other, running like, yay. And yeah, so depends when you are. If you are in Simonstown, definitely yes.
Nice. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
I saw the documentary on Netflix, The Penguin
Mhm.
Town, as you mentioned, and this is
Yeah.
exactly how I imagine it. Good to know that.
And it's exactly, yeah, you really need to go in Simonstown, South Africa, like Cape Town, if you want to see it, because that's so cute. And what I like about the colony, I think it's definitely my favorite place in the world. I've traveled a lot, but this place it's magical. It's just that you can see them, living, and I don't know, it's so peaceful, and they are just doing their penguin life, and that's just so pretty. You can see the little chicks if it's chickering season when they feed them and everything. That's just so beautiful to see.
You mentioned that you traveled also a lot. Have you been traveling also to other places where penguins live?
In Peru, yes. When I was doing the first year of my master's, I went in Peru for an internship. I was studying the interaction between fisheries and penguins, with Humboldt penguins. I was there, but I didn't have the chance to actually be on the field because it was the pandemic, still. So I've been there. I've been in Chile because, well, my father is Chilean. And I made that little trip in Chile where I was doing a bit of tourism, ecotourism. And yeah, I could notice some Humboldt and Magellanic penguins. But I need to go in, where? In New Zealand, in Australia, because they have some other species that I need to see at least once, like the yellow-eyed penguin or the little blue. It's like the smallest penguin species, and it's so small, and I don't know, I need to see that with my own eyes.
I agree, fully support. I also plan a trip to see the penguins.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go for sure. A penguin trip. Coming still back to the beginning of the conversation, that people usually see penguins as charming, playful, connected to the Christmas and winter season.
Yeah.
But what are some biggest challenges the penguins basically face in the wild today that people don't realize?
Unfortunately, penguins, as many seabirds, face some really serious challenges in the wild today. I think that one of the biggest is climate change, because to explain a bit, it's going to affect the availability of their food sources. For example, when the ocean warms, their hunting grounds can move far away. It's going to make it harder for them to find enough food. But then you also have overfishing, of course, pollution like oil spills. While they might look like they are playful, and they are playful and charming and everything, unfortunately, penguins are actually dealing with serious pressure that's really put their survival at risk.
And what would be an ideal penguin friendly world? for you? How would it look like?
That's funny because that's what I put in my caption, I think, not caption, in my biography in Instagram, that I wanted to try to help creating a friendly penguin world. I think that for me, it will be a world where they can thrive, where they can eat enough fish to survive, but also to feed their chicks, because at the end of the day, the chicks are just the future. It's the next generation. We need them to grow and to become beautiful adults and to make other cute chicks. And I think that it will also be a world where people will actually understand that how important penguins are. It will be a world where they will care. And that's what also I'm trying to do in my social media. I have so many stories to tell. I saw so many things, and I'm sure that if people they see all those stories, I'm sure they will care as much as I do if they see that, because that's very intense and sometimes funny, sometimes sad.
Great that you are mentioning your social media, because I have been really following you and I really love your recent rebranding.
Thank you so
So
much.
everyone, make sure to follow. Of course, I will link everything in the show notes. I love how beautifully the stories are crafted. The design is also amazing and it's full of penguin facts. Tell us a little bit about the profile. How did it came to be? What inspired you?
When I was at SANCCOB, before arriving at SANCCOB, I had a point of view of conservation that was very scientific. It was a lot about numbers, percentage. My view was very, I don't know if strict will be the right word, but it was very, numbers, percentage, and everything. Then when I arrived at SANCCOB and I saw, like, I don't know, emaciated birds, they were so weak that they could barely stand. That revealed something else from me, and I started to put more emotions into conservation, what I was thinking about conservation. So this is why I decided to create that page, because I wanted to go deeper into like those feelings that I was feeling. I think that science research can coexist with social media and storytelling and everything. I just realized that together, research and storytelling can be so powerful. And like I said before, I think the stories I have, everything I saw, it need to be heard, because I'm sure it's going to resonate through so many people. So yeah, it was all about sharing my passion for penguins and conservation and share the little stories.
So when did you start your profile?
Wow, my profile, to be honest, is pretty old. But before I wasn't doing that. It was just a profile for when I was traveling and I was doing things related like to science for my friends. So I was just sharing that. Then when I was in Peru, I changed it and I renamed it. And I was sharing more about what I was seeing. So monkeys, I was working a lot against illegal traffic. And then when I arrived at SANCCOB, I deleted everything. And I was like, okay, no, I'm going to talk about seabirds and penguins. So I renamed it again for the Penguin Biologist. And yeah, that's where it starts. My account is named the Penguin Biologist since I think past October, so October 2024.
And it looks amazing again. Everyone,
Thank you
just
so
follow.
much. I'm still learning. I'm learning every day with this account because, you have to, I think you know that, but, you have to do everything by yourself. So you're just learning and learning every day.
Yeah, it looks easy, but it's a lot of work. Also, based when
It's
I was
long.
looking at your posts and stories, I can tell there is so much effort behind them. And especially also your fact checking must take a lot of time. But it pays off because the profile is really beautiful.
Thank you so much. And I put a lot of efforts also because I think it's something like it's a strength for me because I have like a scientific background. I always try to put this scientific background into my content. I will always, check scientific papers. I will cross-check everything just to be sure, that what I'm saying is right. Because to be honest, sometimes, for example, once I made a post about a dark king penguin. He had like a genetic thing, and I didn't know anything about genetics. I had to learn about that, first. So I was reading a lot. I remember like I was reading for like 5 days about his condition and everything, just to be sure that what I'm going to say is right. Sometimes I'm also learning at the same time.
And this is exactly the profiles that we need. You really also study behind. You are not just posting whatever comes to your mind. I
Yeah.
really hope everyone in the world follows this profile.
Thank you so much. That's so kind.
And what is the most challenging part for you before you post it? Is it really the studying about a new topic, or is it maybe the graphics that you do?
The graphics is fine. I'm lucky because I met this amazing person. Her name is Adriana. Her Instagram account is Blue Tide Project, and we like to collaborate together. So when I want some very pretty illustration and everything, I always ask her because she's just amazing at what she's doing. For this, I'm like, it's chill. The longest part I will say will be the reading because like I told you before, I always want to be sure that what I'm sharing is right, that the statistics are good, the inside are correct. I always have to, cross check everything, double check, triple check. Sometimes I check like 5 times and I'm still like, is it fine? But yeah, of course it is. I think that will be the hardest part. And maybe also something when I'm creating like a new kind of post, just to make the template, it takes a lot of time. But then when I have the template, I just use the same for the next ones, the next post. But the first post I'm doing take always, I don't know, 20 more hours than the others just because I want it to look pretty.
And is there something interesting that you learned about penguins while maybe preparing a post?
Like if I learned something while I was preparing a post?
Something you didn't know yet.
Yeah. I think it happened most at the beginning of my account because I knew a lot of things already on other species, but because the African penguin was a bit new for me, there are of course things that I didn't know. For example, they have that pink patch, here around the eyes, and it helps them regulate heat. When the climate outside is very warm, it's going to become very pink because you will see like the blood vessels that are going to go near the skin, and it helps them regulate their temperature. And I didn't know that at all. And that's very interesting. It's a nice adaptation.
Yeah, that's very interesting indeed. I have been reading about it somewhere before, but it was also one of those facts that I was like, okay.
They can do a lot of things like that. That is just, I don't know, when you see it, you're like, is it AI? Like IA, sorry, or is it real? I don't know if you've already seen just penguins, when, especially like adelies, when they are swimming underwater, but when they jump out from the water, they look like rockets because they can swim so fast. They're like propulsing themselves. That's just crazy.
I saw a few jumping out, and as you said, it looks amazing.
I don't know how they do that, to be honest. Like the hydrodynamic behind that is crazy.
Me neither, but I wish I could swim like a penguin. They're pretty amazing in the water. In your overall daily life, is there any misconception about penguins that you often find yourself correcting others?
Every time, every day, I meet someone new. It's gonna be like, oh wow, you are studying penguins. You like them? Wow, they are living in the North Pole, right, with the polar bear. And I'm like, no, they are not. All the 18 penguin species, they actually live at the southern, hemisphere, and they don't live with polar bears. They are not standing like this, hanging out with a polar bear. No, that does not happen. Something I have to say often.
Yeah, I can confirm that's also the first misconception usually that I have with people as well.
But that's a funny one. I like to explain, because after they're like, really? Are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I swear. They never seen a polar bear before.
Yes, and then we have also the Galápagos penguins. And when you start explaining, like, there are also penguins that are living close to the Ecuador, then people are like,
Exactly.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's just like one colony that is like at the limit, of the equator. But most of the others, they are just thousands, but they are very, very near the equator in that little island.
And did you manage to also see the newest documentary about penguins?
Secret of Penguins, of course I did, of course. Oh wow. So there is that researcher, Pablo Borboroglu. He's from Argentina.
Most famous man in the penguin world.
I love what he's doing. Like, I'm always like, okay, if I need to be someone, I would like to be him, because he's so invested in what he's doing in his work. So yeah, like that's, for me, that's, the dream job. You are working, but you are helping the nature and the penguins. You are like, actually, I will feel very useful, if I had, that position. And there are also other people that had participated to this documentary. And I really think that it was great because that's everything I like in like a good documentary or good content. It's emotional, but sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's a bit sad. it keeps your attention and it makes you, you're going deep. You are actually involved, when you are looking at this documentary. So if you haven't seen it, I really recommend it. It was great.
I have seen it, but I recommend it as well to everyone who's listening. Watch it. It was amazing.
Like I said before, for me, it was always so important to find something I will be useful to. And I think that penguins are just an amazing cause. I'm always amazed when I see like actual researchers like that had a beautiful career helping the birds and doing science at the same time. It's just so pretty.
I really hope we get to see more of that in your work. And
Thank you.
you're also currently seeking a PhD funding, right?
Yes, so the thing is a bit special. I'm doing everything. I'm currently working on developing my PhD project that will focus on the impact of fisheries on penguin species. The goal is to better understand how penguin fishery interactions are shaping penguin survival and breeding success. So I'm looking for fundings, of course, but I also I'm creating the whole plan and everything, the methodology, everything from zero. And that's very exciting. It's a lot of work, but I can't wait, for that moment when I will actually begin it. Everything will be ready and I will be like, okay, yeah, I made it. I made all of it. And now I just have to do all the research stuff. I can't wait for that moment.
Sounds like an exciting journey ahead of you. If you would imagine you would have unlimited funding and support, what would be like a dream research or conversation project?
Okay, I have to be honest. Actually, that will be this PhD project.
Perfect.
Perfect. No, I just need money. No, like you said before, it's a long journey, and I'm really putting all the efforts, all the sweat, everything I have. I'm putting in it that project because at the end of the day, I'm doing that for all the species of penguins, and I really want to help protect them and help them thrive in the wild. Yeah, hopefully I'm going to start soon.
I'm sure you will, and I'm sure we will see more about the research and the fisheries and learn also more.
Yeah.
If I would say I am an aspiring biologist, what advice would you give me?
If you are an aspiring biologist, I will tell you, okay, that sounds easy, but I will just tell you to keep going because at least for me, sometimes I had some difficult moments. It wasn't always easy, because we are living in a world that is changing and you can easily feel overwhelmed, when you're looking at the situation of our planet. But that passion, it's exactly what we need. I will just tell to the people to stay passionate and to keep going, even if sometimes it's hard. And little mention for people like me that didn't came from, like an ecology background. Don't listen to the people, they're gonna tell you that it's impossible, but don't listen, okay? Do it. You can do it. That's fine.
I like it also as a general advice in everything. Don't listen to the people,
Exactly.
just do it.
And follow your passion, follow what you love. Think just about your dreams and your goals, and you're gonna make it.
That's true. Okay, now to my favorite questions. I ask everyone, what is your favorite penguin species and why?
So hard to choose. Okay, I'm gonna say I think it's the Adelie penguin because even if the first post I've seen about a penguin, was an emperor one after Instagrammer, I don't know how to call that, but there is that person on Instagram and he's sharing a lot about penguins and seals sometimes. He's Korean, I think. His name is Myonggoso, something like that. And he's always posting about Adelies and I don't know, I just love them so much. They're so tiny, but they are full of attitude. They are a bit sassy. And what I love about them is how much personality they have. They're tiny, but they're going to fight. They're going to like we said before, to dive and to swim and to do crazy jumps. And yeah, I just love them. And I think that they remind me a little bit of my cat because Adelie penguins, for the people that don't know, they are black and white. It's like really the classic penguin, black and white, tuxedo and everything. And my cat is very similar to them, also, black and white. I think I might be biased because of my cat.
Don't worry, I won't tell the other penguins that the Adelies are your favorites. And if you could give our listeners today one advice or one thing, how can they help protect penguins? What would it be? What can we do?
There is a lot of things you can actually do, but if I will have to say just one thing, there is one small thing, one small powerful action that you can do for the penguins, but also for other seabirds. And it's to try to reduce your seafood consumption or make sure that the fish you do eat comes from sustainable sources. Because unfortunately, overfishing is a major threat to many seabirds, including penguins, choosing responsibly really can make a real difference. There is something I like to say when I'm talking about that with like someone, but you, even with your fork can be a tool to protect the species you love. You have the power, to create a change. Keep that in mind.
It's very good advice. As you said, it's usually the small things that can make the big change.
It just have to be overall effort, like a global effort. If we all do some small things, it can already make a real change.
True. And before we really sign off, where can people follow you?
You can find me on Instagram at the Penguin Biologist. It's where I mainly post, it's where I'm sharing about my journey, research, and of course a lot of penguins fact and penguin stories. If you're just curious, go on the page and check a little bit everything, and I'm sure you're gonna love it.
Yeah, everyone will love it, I can tell already. So we will link everything in the show notes so people can find you. And thank you again very much for being here. It was really a pleasure to talk about penguins with you.
Thank you so much for the invitation, really. It was a pleasure to talk about penguins with you.
And that's it for today's episode. A huge thanks again to Carolina, who joined me today, and the fun conversations we had about penguins. And as always, thank you for listening. If you like this episode, be sure to follow, leave a review, or share it with someone who loves penguins, or just great conversations. Until next time, take care, stay cool, and I will catch you in the next episode.
Join us in their world where every moment's a surprise. Oh, penguin paradise, where the penguins dance and sing under the watchful eyes of the sun. They live a life so fun. From the Arctic to Antarctica, their stories take flight in penguin paradise.